Hey everyone, it's TheViperian here and welcome back to another Crash Sim Racing video. And as promised, I'll be doing a series based on developer time trial guides from now on. And in today's video, Turbo Track will be the first one. Based on the vote I see so far from you guys, I couldn't agree more. Turbo Track and Slide Coliseum is one hell of a hard track to beat, but not as hard as Crash Cove, at least for me. Arguably, Turbo Track could be the second hardest track to beat the death times for me, just right next to Crash Cove. So I know you guys can't wait to see what I have in store for you guys, so let's get right into it. So before we actually begin, you need to know a few things first about beating the developer times on Turbo Track. Obviously, you will need to master U-turning and the reserve system here. So correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems that the blue fire pad here doesn't give you as much reserve as blue fire pads from other tracks, which is why sometimes you will notice your blue fire to be gone pretty quickly. So by having a full mastery of drift boosting and reserve maintenance, it will help you out so much more when you watch this guide. Secondly, use speed. I know most people don't like using speed, but it's what I use personally to win the death times in Turbo Track, and trust me, it makes my life so much easier. There are loads of open spaces and straight roads, besides this double U-turn of course, but overall, it is a pretty straightforward track, so a higher momentum in forward speed will help you tremendously, since you'll be doing U-turning on tight turns anyway. And finally, right off the bat, there are actually 6 important things you must do in this track. And if you mess either one of them, your chances of losing will just go up much higher. But if you do every one of them almost perfectly, your chances of winning the death times is almost guaranteed. So with that out of the way, let's move on headfirst onto the track and begin the guide. So we're now at the starting line, and of course, get as many blue fire pad as you can to build that reserve up. Now remember the 6 important things you need to do on this track? Well, number 1 is to actually cut the grass here. All you have to do is to start jumping before you reach the grass. This will allow your car to jump as far as possible on the very first hop. Also, jumping before touching the grass will actually save your reserve even more. After this, keep on going and touch as many blue fire pad as you can. And this is where number 2 comes in, which is to take this really big grass cut. All you need to do is again, jump before touching the grass and then start hopping at a maximum of 4 times. After that, immediately start drift boosting to the left side. If you continue to hop for too long, you might lose your reserves much earlier than expected. Now directly after this comes number 3, which is yet another grass cut. For this one, you can just drift around it at a tight angle like what I do. You can jump over the grass if you want to, but I like to do this instead to build as much reserve as I can for the double U-turn. And now number 4 is to actually do a what I would like to call as a ground and jumping U-turn combination. Now what does that mean? Take a look at how I do the U-turn here. Notice that I don't spam my jump key all the time. What I'm doing instead here is to hold the U-turn key no matter what, and only jump when I reach the sharp corners. Not only does this give you much more easier control on this part of the track, but also it gives you a sharper turn as well. Which means that if you master this correctly, you can actually be faster than the ghost itself here. And now moving on to number 5, which is to touch this speed pad here, directly after you finish the double U-turn. The good news here is that the ghost actually loses blue fire after the double U-turn, and he doesn't take this specific blue fire pad on the first lap. So what this means is, if you are able to get this blue fire pad earlier than him, you're going to get a great head start. And as we make our way to the finish line, here comes number 6, which is to do a U-turn at the final hairpin. Thankfully, the developer ghost doesn't do a U-turn here in all of the 3 laps, so use this to your advantage. Oh, and this is the reason why I've actually beaten him in the end. Just take a look at this. So yeah, I've beaten him in the end even though he ended the final hairpin first. And that's actually all the 6 important things you need to do in Turbo Track to beat the developer ghost. Of course, besides these tips, general skills like racing lines are really important as well. Meaning to stick close as you can to the edge of the track whenever possible, to cut as much time as you can. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the guide. If this helped you out, do support the channel by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. I'll be doing Crash Cove up next, and then followed by Slide Coliseum, so do look out for that. This is TheViperian signing off. Thank you for spending your time in watching my videos, and I'll see you in the next one.